Hey everybody, it's Minius, and I'm here with Sofajockey of the BSN forums. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Minius. Another Brit to talk to.
Another Brit to talk to, yeah. We get quite a few. So basically, I know a lot of you guys out there like the Bioware forums and might be looking for somewhere else to go, and I wanted to point you in a direction where you could find something similar. So you run a full-on forum similar to the Bioware forums, right?
We absolutely do. We have a guy called Simon who heads up the show, and there are 6 other slightly fatigued and stressed mods trying to keep it running.
So tell us, what is the BSN forums?
The BSN forums came about when the original BSN official forum said it was going to die, because at that point BSN, what used to be called the Bioware forum, which itself was a successor to BSN Bioware Social Network, as it used to be called before that, or BSN, had been rolling along for many years.
A lot of years, right?
Yeah.
How long was it going for? I feel like it was a decade.
I wasn't there at the beginning, and I'm sure some bright spark will pop up and say, hey, I was there back in the Victorian age. But I jumped in probably around the time of Mass Effect 2, so it had certainly been rolling for an extended period. And, it had developed a certain reputation over that time, but when BioWare said we're calling it a day, at that point, the community basically went, what? And I remember watching your video on the topic at the time.
Yeah.
So a few people who enjoyed what that forum did got together and thought, well, let's carry on doing it. And some interesting people have decided to come along for the ride.
How's it going so far?
It's been very interesting because, if you can imagine, the BioWare shuttered the old forum probably at the most invisible time, because it was in between games. We were still in the summer before spring launch.
It was kind of a stealth spring launch too. They didn't even tell us when the game was coming out. Yeah,
absolutely. So I think it's done pretty well. We're pushing 3,000 registered members, but as you know, many people lurk. So yesterday, we're coming to the end of January, there were 7,500 visitors yesterday. So it's doing mightily fine.
Excellent. What are your favorite topics on there, just so people can...
There are always classics. I mean, there are... in any good day, you'll have people discussing hair. You'll have people discussing gender politics.
I had no idea. I don't know what... I must be wildly out of touch. I had no idea hair was such a big deal.
No, hair is an absolutely massive issue.
Huge deal.
Yeah. I think even before the hair thread on New BSN, the pubic hair thread ran for a short but interesting time. I think probably the biggest debate of the last few weeks has been, tiny spoilers, the Tempest's armament or lack of them. That's been quite a controversial debate, so that's been fun. And we've saved some of the classic articles from the old BSN, such as what does Tally's sweat taste like? You really didn't want to know, did you?
You know what? I'm slightly curious, but not curious enough to, I don't know, break her out of her suit. I think that'd be really, really mean.
Exactly. In short, a real mixture from the sublime to the ridiculous.
Really not willing to kill someone over that.
Yeah.
Here's a good question. Why do you think the BioWare forums closed in the first place?
I think it must have been very difficult for BioWare, because I guess there are 2 conflicting considerations. One is to communicate with your audience, and a forum can communicate in such an intimate way that the communicate starts to ask things, as the phrase goes, of the creators. So it's a bit like the Geth Quarian situation, really. The community started going, BioWare, please, and being more demanding of what it wanted to know, and perhaps less happy with answers like soon or we'll get back to you on that. If you look at it then from the EA side of things, they just want to market and sell the game. And the passionate people that get involved in forums are probably a very small proportion of those who will wander into a store and buy a box with a guy on a helmet on it. So they are investing time and effort for a forum that can get pretty wild.
That's a good
go back
question.
to the-
You've got some insight on running a forum, obviously.
Well, indeed,
Yeah.
because there are 7 of us trying to cobble this thing together, but we were not running the forum back in the old days of the official forum when, for example, the whole Mass Effect 3 endings kicked off.
Oof.
And some of those threads were absolutely mind-boggling. Now, I'm not saying that the people with issues didn't have the right to raise them or the right to be concerned, but the people running the thread, being Bioware, had to balance being the corporate responsible entity that couldn't slap people down, but try and control this mad party that was essentially on their porch. And if you have mad party goers, sometimes you don't want them on your porch. You want them somewhere else. So it's a real conflict between, if you like, the marketing bods and the people who want to say, actually, I want to interact with this community. So, I myself was really angry at the time of the announcement. I'll tell you, I know many of us were.
Yeah.
But in the cold light of day, do you know, I can understand why they thought there was a problem having this communication tool that they were responsible for, that was capable of going from silly to wildly angry on the turn of a thread. So I have some sympathy for that.
It's interesting that you brought that up, because now that I really think about it, it's the entire opinion of Bioware really pivoted on the Bioware 3 or on the Mass Effect 3 ending. And from that standpoint, it's probably been very tough to be someone at Bioware chatting with the fans, because wow, the internet can get nasty. It can get nasty very fast and very hard.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Oh man, that's
and even back in 2014, when the Dragon Age Inquisition rollout was happening, there were controversies over, let's call it Crestwood Gate, the original behind closed doors demos that would show functionality from the game that didn't make it into the final cut. So that would generate debate, anger, finger pointing. There would be time around, I think it was the holidays of 2014, when the multiplayer, there was you may remember it, there was a key glitch which meant that people would play in the multiplayer and basically get stuck, and there would be people threatening developers and getting really upset.
Boy.
So again, it's really, really hard to own the platform and also distance yourself from it at the same time. One of the advantages of now being unofficial is we don't have to worry quite as much about people pointing their fingers saying, Bioware, please, because we're not Bioware. We don't have to, we don't have to hate, we don't have to love. We can be a little bit more neutral. I think what's so interesting about this type of forum is, and I'll give you some examples, and I'm not taking a pop, for example, at Ubisoft. They've got some forums, you can go on there might be some technical support questions, but it's not a community in the same way as this strange Bioware melting pot. There is something about the Bioware technique of telling stories that sucks in a type of gamer that likes to talk about it, that likes to argue about it. So it's at times almost like playing the game when you're not playing the game. The run up to the game can become quite compelling. You can spend time popping on, debating every minutiae of leak before actually opening the thing up.
And people do.
And people do.
And people do, yeah.
Now that the characters are starting to come out, and again, I'm going to be really careful with spoilers, because some people get really upset about knowing nothing.
This is a location where you can go ahead and jump through with spoilers, because I do it all the time. And well, yeah, occasionally. Although at this point,
I'll tell you this, Minius. On the BSN, we have a safe zone forum for people who want to know nothing about the game.
Yeah, but see, my channel is all about telling people stuff about the game, so it's very difficult. Like if I'll label a video, hey, these are all the characters, I don't expect people to jump on there and be mad at me for telling them who the characters are.
Well, people will come to the PSN to discuss not knowing anything about the game.
That's interesting. And so there's a place for that.
There is absolutely a place for that. And people will ask questions to try and tease what spoilers are known about something, and hoping that somebody will tell them in a sufficiently non-spoilery way what is known about the thing they don't want to know about.
That sounds incredibly complicated.
It can be. Absolutely, it can be.
But there is a place like that. How interesting.
There is a place for it.
All right.
So it's about community.
So you can get as spoilers as you want. It's difficult for me to say they're spoilers because this stuff's out there and being marketed.
Exactly.
So as far as a spoiler goes, if it's being marketed, I don't know if it's necessarily a spoiler. But of course, you mentioned going in completely blind, which I like doing with many games.
Yeah.
Cannot do with this one, but
with the internet being as it is, and with EA Access dropping on March 16th, you can guarantee that as soon as it takes for a YouTube video to render, there's going to be a mighty pile of stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
On the internet on the 16th.
All right, so the BSN forums, a place where you can go and chat about all things BioWare and get ready for Mass Effect Andromeda in depth, which is something you can't really do in the comment section of a YouTube video. So I figure that a lot of you would be very interested in this, and I'm on there, but here's a good question to go out. Well, how do you feel about lurkers?
Lurkers are the vast majority. We would probably have, for every one person posting, we've probably got 10 lurkers.
And I'm probably one of those lurkers. Okay.
We can see them because they'll click up on the visitor count, so we know they're there.
I think I mentioned this to you before we started talking, that I did not comment on a single YouTube video until I had a channel. I did not come out to play. So I might come out to play there if you want to chat with me in depth. I don't know. I'll try to put something together. But I'm figured at the very least some of you might not know that this thing exists and might enjoy it quite a bit. So I wanted to bring that to you. Anyway, thanks for...
It would be lovely to see you coming into play, Minius.
All right. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks very much.